On this episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB, we have the inspiring Nikki Cross.
So Nikki, can you share with our listeners more about your business?
Okay. My business was never meant to be a business.
Yes.
Great start.
And it was never meant to be this business either,
Okay.
right? So I think I'm 38 this year, something like that.
You do forget after a while, don't you?
My husband, because he's a bit older than me, he adds on a year every...
It's rude, isn't it, when they do that? My
It makes
husband
me
calls us
forget.
the same age and I'm like, love, you're
We're
43.
not.
I am not.
Absolutely not. So ish, let's say ish. So I've been in learning and development for about 20 years. That was my career. I'm someone who knows.
Yeah.
I've got like a real inner knowing. And and I don't know what I know, but there's certain things. And it's like when I met my husband, I just knew. I was very young. And when we were talking about starting a family, I just knew. I was very young. My friends were all in uni and traveling. And I was like, I've done what I want to do. I want anyway. So I never knew I wanted to have a business. I never wanted to have a business. I absolutely knew my career was in people.
Yeah.
I knew it. And so I sort of followed that path, and I was a trainer, and then I went into developing people and developing leadership. That's where the core of my career got to. Circumstantially, and it's not in the normal way either. You know, like I listen to so many women on your podcast, and it's like, because I had children, I was so lucky. Yeah. My mother-in-law was a childminder.
Wow.
My mum had just retired.
Yeah.
My husband, this is a bit of a mad one. We went on Deal or No Deal. He did. We did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
But what that allowed
Did you get
us-
the big box?
No.
What, like
25
a blue?
grand.
Oh,
Wow.
it was like quite a big box, not a blue.
Significant enough for him to move from being an electrician to going into the education industry.
Wow.
And he's got his own business now too. But I say all of that because it's the story. I say all of that because when all of that was going on and I was in my learning and development career, absolutely loving it. My son, he's 15 now. And so I was so lucky. I had my husband who was able to drop off and pick up. I had my mother-in-law who was a childminder. I had my mum who just spent so much time with him.
Wow.
So I was so lucky in that way. And that's not my reason. I just got to a point in my career where I was like, there is no job that does what I want to do. And I can't do this anymore. It's not worth it. I got to a point in my career and I got the money and I got the title and I even got the working conditions, which I really needed because I was in an office. It was, you know, heavy office-based environment before the pandemic. And my mum was really ill. And I just thought, I can't do this. I just can't. We didn't know we didn't know she was going to pass.
Yeah.
But just as a change job, she passed.
Oh.
Right. And so, but what was lovely about it was I then went on to have this amazing role, work from home. And I thought, this is it. Yay.
Yeah, I've done it.
You know, and it was with an amazing company. And then I think when you're grieving, you sort of go on autopilot a little bit.
You do.
Especially with her, what a woman. And I just went, oh God, it's not. What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And what I wanted didn't exist. There was no box to put me in. And I just thought, oh no, because I didn't want what was going to happen. I didn't want to be a business owner.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a business owner because I'd never, that was the first role, because it was all learning and development. That was the first role that introduced me to the commercial aspects of business. And I was like, strapping, like, whoa, this, you know, when you're talking about revenue and profit margins and customer retention, and these were all concepts to me that were very, very new.
Yeah.
And I'm so, that's the one thing I wanted to say. I am so grateful for my experiences in business because they've shaped me as a woman, you know, and I listen to all of the stories on this podcast and I just think we've all been shaped by our experiences,
100%.
good and bad.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
So anyway, there I am, Lime Street to Euston, going to meet my boss, November. What was the year before COVID?
2019.
Was it?
Yeah.
Stop it.
If it was November,
Yeah.
it would have been because March 2020 was lockdown, wasn't it?
No dates stay in my head. Absolutely not. So then, and I was there and I was like, right, I'm going to do it. Going to meet my boss. I was like, look, I'm going to start my own business. And what a lovely exit. What a lovely man. Like, we were just able to figure out a way for me to exit that business.
Wow.
And I was going to, and here's the thing, what I love about the unexpected, my limited mind around what I was about to create was sort of like taking what I was doing and making it into my own business, going into businesses and working with their leadership teams and developing them.
Yeah.
I went in and set up Thrive Life and Business, and then lockdown went, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
Now-
what have I done?
well, no, not really, because I was in it.
Yeah.
I had no time to think, what have I done? It was all just,
fast.
you just need to adapt and you need to go. And whatever plan you had in mind is not what's about to go down. So all of a sudden, this business that I had in my head from, I'm going to go into businesses and I'm going to work with their leadership teams on their inner leadership, which is, it wasn't something that I saw, but it was the reason why businesses weren't getting what they needed from the training. And I thought, this is it. And all of a sudden it's like, no, you're not going to do that. And through setting Thrive Life and Business up, I started speaking to managing directors and CEOs and women in business owners, realizing, oh my God, it's the inner work that you need. That's what it is. And so my portfolio of clients grew on a one-to-one basis. And just through that, I was like, there's more here. And what I really wished I could have done was enable them to hear each other's experiences, because on every one-to-one call I was having, I was like, oh my God, if you could just listen to so-and-so, you will see how not alone you are
so
in this
true.
experience.
Yeah.
We think that we are, and we think it's just us, and it's not. And so that's where the Inner Work Club was born. So I facilitate this space, and it's online, so you can be anywhere. There's people from, different countries in there. And if I'm coaching this person on this thing, there's always going to be someone else who's live on that call or listening to the private podcast that's only for us, who's like, oh my God, there's one nugget in what has just been discussed that has shifted my whole perception of myself. And I just, that's not really me. That's them, And even for the person who I'm with in that moment, sometimes it's not me doing the work. It's them hearing themselves say that thing out loud that makes them go, shit, I never thought that I thought that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, and it blows my head off. And I am so privileged and lucky to be in this position. I'm so grateful.
I love that.
Was that an answer to the question? Because I forgot the question.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was all the questions.
Good. We're done. Let's not skip to the team on.
What did your family think of your career change, then, going from that steady career, getting paid every month, to owning your own business? What was that conversation like?
Interesting. So when Mum passed, I would have loved to have known what she'd have said, because she was like, my mum was like, if you had have seen someone walking down running down the road, she would be out loud, go ahead, girl.
Yeah.
Like, she was that woman,
Then you know what she'd have said.
Yeah, probably. But my mum worked in Cadbury's chocolate factory. 7 days
What a dream job for a mum to have. Did she bring it home?
I've been on a school trip to Cadbury's as well.
and
She
Yeah.
smelled
Young.
incredible.
Wonder if
Did
they
she?
still do
Was she
that.
chocolate personified?
Yeah.
Did you just get loads of chocolate growing
Yeah.
up?
I'm a really good seeker. Like, if anything's hidden in my house, because
Oh, yeah.
my
I
mum
know
used
as
to
well.
hide the chocolate, and I
Do you know
used to
what?
seek it.
Yeah.
Nikki, I don't
you
even
know
have
what?
to seek. I break people down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She
To
does. She's a
tell
breaker.
me.
She's not a seeker.
I got my Christmas present a week before Christmas.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
That is something to be
If
proud of.
I want to, honestly, Alan's like
I will break you.
Yeah, he acts like, this 6 foot something man, like dead manly beard, and I can just, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
Nope, not telling you.
MI5 style. Yeah.
But you find things.
I find things.
But I find that you can pass that skill on, because my children
100%.
also find my stuff, which is
100%.
very, very annoying.
Currently, right
your
now,
secret stashes.
yeah, as we speak, I have got chocolate bars in a gravy boat.
Yeah. I've never tried the gravy boat, but mine are clear. Mine are clear.
don't
So
try
like,
that.
no, that's not going to be a great hiding space. But yeah, top drawers. And then I go in there and I'm like, oh
you
my
little
God,
yeah,
you have,
I know.
Yeah.
And you can't say anything because they learned it from you.
Yeah,
I know. But going back to your question, the work, I don't know if she'd have said go ahead girl, because she was so, my mum and my dad worked on the docks. They were so, you do your job, you work, it doesn't matter if you like it, you do overtime, you pay your mortgage, you get this, it was all about security.
Yeah. And pension for when you die.
God, of course, pension. And so the only person I had to ask was my dad. Now, my dad already had signs of dementia when my mum was passing.
Okay.
When she went, it was like being orphaned, to be honest, because when she went, it was like losing your mum, but also at the same time looking at him and being like, I care for you now.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a really hard situation as well, isn't it? That's a really hard realisation.
Yeah. So I had to learn to stop telling him that I'd actually left my job because he said to me, I told him a few times, but the first time I told him and he went, Nikki, you knobhead, what have you done that for? And I just, you know, when you're like, I thought he was going to be all proud and he went, you've left your job to start a business. And he was so, you know, traditional in that way. And he called me Nikki Knobhead, like that was our thing.
Little affectionate term.
Knobhead.
Only Scousers do.
Yeah. So really, it wasn't a great experience, and I had to stop telling him because every time he would forget that I told him.
It's almost praise be, isn't it? You know, small joys.
Exactly.
Like at least you've forgotten
100%.
soon in that for that thing.
Yeah. But apart from my mum and dad, like my husband's so supportive. My son, like he's 15 now, and I've told him, you know, I'm coming to see you guys today, and it makes me like looking into his face and seeing him go, oh, go on, mum. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, because I mortify him the majority of the time.
Yeah,
so
we do our children.
We do.
Do you know one of my like best moments that came from a really like rubbishy situation was a couple of weeks ago, and you know when you're saying about how children look at people, Jess had her tonsils out on Tuesday last week. And she was coming round from the anaesthetic and she was seeing all sorts of like weird and wonderful things, a little rabbit, and she's like sort of hysterical. She's ADHD as well. It was like the most unfiltered Jess that you've ever seen. She's like, the nurse had a really big nose. And then hysterical. And I was like, oh God, you know. And then
she sounds like living in my head.
Yeah, she was like, I don't remember a thing, you know, Mum, I don't remember a thing. I don't remember a thing about how it happened. And I was like, oh, that's really good. Then I said, I'm glad you remember me. And she went, Mummy, I always remember you. Woman power. Whoa. And I was like, oh my God, of all the things, like woman power. Like that's how she sees me. She would never say it particularly, you know, to anyone else, but she's like, woman power. Whoa, leading ladies. Whoa. And I was like, oh God. Like
that's a moment.
Yeah, wow, I'm in there.
That's like, I'm in
tucked
there.
Away. Tucked away.
Career made.
Woman power. So yeah, you know, took a general anaesthetic to get there.
Doesn't
a bit
matter.
of pride from the kids, but
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If that's what it takes.
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
So what do you find most fulfilling then about the work that you do? I know you've touched on it, but what is like the be all end all? That's it.
Do you know, it's just the small moments and you never know when they're going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? That. So it could creep up in any moment and it could creep up. Like with my one-to-one clients, they have their sessions, but they get voice note access as well. And so I could wake up to a message where a discussion from 2 weeks ago, the pennies dropped and here it is. I knew I was going to get there. Thank you for being patient with me. But for me, the fulfillment is in the ripple. So what I see is it happens inside of my client and then it ripples out into their life and business. Mm-hmm. So what I actually see and what you will see from the outside is, oh my God, like she's just not just increased her prices, but she's really, look at her showing up in business. And I'm like, I know what's behind that. I know what it took for you to get there. That to me is like, it just, when I say to my clients, it's a privilege and a pleasure, it is. It's what a privilege and a pleasure.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And such a joy to be part of that process as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It must give you as much as it gives them.
Yeah. And I'm learning from them all the time. That's the thing. You know, when when they are having the experiences that they are, I'm learning with them. I'm growing with them. And it's like, I just think I am in my dream job and I love it. And I want to caveat that as well with, I think that we should own what we want. And I think that a lot of the time, us owning what we want, like if I go back to telling you that story about this business isn't meant to be, I look back and I think that wasn't actually what you wanted, Nick. Like if I could speak to myself, I'd be like, that's not the business you even wanted. Thank God for the lockdown, because you didn't get what you wanted. And it's a little bit like, the way I see it is, we have these sort of self-imposed limits because we can't actually see what could be possible or even probable for us. And so to expand what someone believes is possible for them, and then to see them actually actualize that in life and business, that's like, but that's the caveat. When you see that, you can't unsee it. So it takes for you to then own it. And sometimes that does look like supporting yourself through the discomfort of taking responsibility for what you want to create. And that's brave, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
They are.
So what's the ultimate goal then? What's your
I just love doing this. Like, I don't, like we did yesterday, didn't we? An event at one of your leading ladies in business events. Thank you so much for having me.
No, God, it was incredible. So much good came from that.
Well, they were, and that's the thing. It's like, I don't, when I said at the beginning of this episode, I know things. I don't know what like year we're in, but I know things. I don't really want to set goals, because two things really. I never knew what would happen with my mum and my dad. Like what that taught me is, or my business or pandemic, you can have a plan and that plan can go to shit in a second. And in addition to that, I have quite an actually physically large head. Like, as in, no, I do. As in, like, hats don't fit.
Well,
kind
do you
of
know
thing.
what? No, I don't. But I did have a very big argument. I don't know whether I do actually, but
No,
it's
it
not something
looks
I've been
normal
self-conscious
size.
about
Yeah.
in the past. But the health visitor said that about my 2-year-old one time at the 2-year-old check. And she was like, oh, she's got an unusually large head. And I was like, oh, no, I don't think so. She's a normal size hat size. Like, and I was like, she's 3 to 6 months. And then I went upstairs and I was getting a range of hats to put on it in front of the health visitor, like some numpty, you know. And she was just like, oh, yeah, okay, you know what? No worries. We won't explore that any further.
Yeah.
But I would not say you have an unusually large head.
They direct me to the men's eyewear section. And no. But anyway, what I was going to say was, even though that is the case, I understand it's limited in there. I might have a physically large head, but it's very small in terms of my ability to perceive what I'm actually capable of, even doing this work.
Yeah.
You know? And I think
amazing.
in answer to your question about goals, I could talk all day about things I want to do. I love doing and being, but in terms of like goals, I actually have to be careful the other way around, that I don't get so caught up in absolutely adoring what I do. I go, oh, there's a business to run. Oh, we have money to make. It's that way around, you know. That's been a challenge actually.
Yeah, always, because I think when you're such a giving person as well, you would give it for free. And that has been our age-old problem. Yeah. You give and give and give and give and give, and you go, oh, do you know what? I just know that anyway. So I just, you know, well, I'll speak about that and I'll do that. And
so you almost undervalue it because it comes so naturally to you. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. And I think especially sort of both of us have come from education backgrounds as well, and then you as well. Yeah. So you're very used to being undervalued for the amount of work that you actually do as well. You know, you can't go over £30,000, I'm afraid. So you're like, oh yes, I'm only worth £30,000.
Nothing prepares you for that.
No.
In business.
It really doesn't.
No. And then you're told you can set your own price and you're like, well, I must be well under £30,000 because now I'm self-employed, so I'm even less of a,
the rules.
You know, yeah. God, it's a strange thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Nothing prepares you for that.
No.
For advocating for yourself.
No.
Owning what you want. You have to advocate for it.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. And you have to, it's almost like you have to believe your own self-worth in order to put a price on that, don't you? So when someone says, well, £150 now, oh my goodness, no.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you break it all down,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, actually that's, you know, I'm working for £3.20 per hour.
That's it. I actually do an exercise very similar to that with my own clients where I'm like, okay, well, what is your price comprised of? And I'm not, you know, a specialist in pricing or marketing or strategy or money or anything. But even just that simple question makes them realise that
100%.
a lot of the time, all they're doing is totting up hours. They don't take into account the years of training and experience and equipment and all of it. And also they don't normally consider, like I'll think of one of my clients, she's a wedding photographer. And I'm like, you're not creating photos, you're creating memories.
100%.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we have to be reminded as women in business that if we are the ones who are responsible for the structure of our business, the structure of our services, the structure of our pricing, and the way that we package all of that together, we do have to take responsibility of that.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's important.
Absolutely. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I think a catalyst of inner change for people, you know, like
Catalyst of inner change.
yeah, like I facilitate that. I facilitate people's inner work, and I love watching them ripples out into their lives and relationships and their business and with themselves.
I love
And
that.
you know, and it's like I was thinking about this question, and I was thinking, I don't even need them to remember me. I just need them to remember that time of their life was the time when everything changed for them, and that they owned that. Like a client, I've just wrapped up with her yesterday, and we were texting, and she said, and I couldn't have done all of this without you. And I said, but you made that happen.
Yeah.
Like you were the one who engaged me to do this with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
And
you are the catalyst.
that.
you did that. So I think that.
That's
A
amazing.
catalyst
Thank
for
you.
change.
Who knew?
And if you could spill the tea with anyone, who would you choose and why?
This is, I think my younger self. I'd love to sit her down and get her by the shoulders and be like, Nikki, listen to me. Because I think we grow and we evolve and we change. And I was someone who was just so full of their own self-doubt and their own limitations and their own, I was accommodating to the point of it being quite debilitating. You know, I would, if I saw you in the, what's this called in the car? Is it a rear view mirror? If I saw you behind me and there was car parking spaces and I could see one, I'd drive past it to let you in. Like it was to that extent. And that's,
I think I would probably still do that.
You
wouldn't, would you? You put your reversing lights on and be like, no.
back off.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, sorry.
I wish I could go back and say, look, you know,
Take that space.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly that. You've just took the words right out my mouth. Take that space, take up space. You know, she never knew. And I had my son at 22 and he taught me, he has and continues to, what an amazing human, teach me so much. If I could just go back and be like, Nick, you are and you can, I'd love that.
Do you know what my dad always says? You can't put an old head on young shoulders.
Yeah.
And so do you think that even going back and shaking yourself, that you needed to be that
100%.
person then and overcome all of those things to be able to show people who are still stuck in that space as an older person that you can overcome things and that you know, that you understand that, because without having been through that, you wouldn't have such a deep understanding of how that feels and how to change things, you know. And I think, would you change any part of that journey?
No, none. You're right, because I could have. Can I change my answer?
Like it's like a confidence boost and give her some self-belief.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could go back and I could look her in the eye and I could sit there and shake her shoulders. But you are right.
Yeah.
Actually, that would, like going back to my learning and development theory, that's just knowledge. To tell someone something And for them to sit there and go, yes, I understand, is very different from living it. Yeah. You're right.
I can implement that. You know, I am confident enough to implement that. And I think there's a lot of, you know, young people out there who do feel exactly that, you know, and who aren't confident, and they're the quiet kids in school, and they go under the radar and they just slip through and slip through and slip through, who are going to be these amazing, incredible people, because they're watchers and they see everything, and they see the human dynamics in a classroom of what goes on and who I'm going to be like and who I'm not going to be like, and take the good bits. And I wish I could be a bit more like that, but still have the kindness that goes with. And I want to be that loud person, but I don't want to be unkind with it, and to notice other people's flaws. And I think unless you've been that child
You're right.
and that young person, maybe you haven't got that same...
I think your experience, doesn't it? Your experience shapes you into who you are today. So you had to live that experience to know and to be and to support the people who you support. So moving on to experiences and what we've learned growing up and who we are. We are what we see in the behaviours around us. So I'm pretty sure Cal's mum will make a cup of tea the way Cal makes a cup of tea.
She does, yeah. She's very good at a cup of tea.
She does.
My mum made a cup of tea the same way as well.
So
it's
hereditary.
Well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Generational.
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 That's the right word. Generation. So what is your generational tradition of making a cup of tea? Or are you just like completely blown out the water? I've started this way myself.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Are
what
you
you
a tribe
expect. I'm
of
going to
your
let you
own?
down
I do.
completely. I'm renowned for making a cup of tea in my house.
Wow. I'm settling in. I'm buckling up and settling in.
You did actually get cozy then, didn't you?
Yeah.
My normal way of making a cup of tea is to ask you, would you like a cup of tea?
Yeah.
And then I forget.
Oh, so no tea ever comes?
No tea is made. No, I'm not.
Oh.
Tea's awful. Ladies, listen. Tea's horrible. It's a horrible drink. And I don't understand. I don't understand why you love it so much.
Why did you let it on the show?
I don't,
Did you let it take that couch?
Read?
Do you know what this is called?
I
Do you know what this podcast is called,
my
Nikki?
days.
The way I make a cup of tea is I put a coffee pod in, and I close that down, and it goes and then the coffee comes out.
What does it do?
Even if that person's asked you for tea, you just go against their wishes and go, here you go, have this, it's better.
A coffee, yeah. No, it's not intentional. It's just a thing. Like my husband will say to me, oh, this is a lovely brew. And I'm like, oh my God, it did it again. I asked you if you wanted a cup of tea and I just forgot.
And you heard coffee.
I feel like there's like a deeper
there's a
core
real
root here.
root,
We need to get to the bottom of why you've got this.
How did your
just
parents?
bounce.
Did your parents like tea?
Yes.
Was
they
your
did.
childhood happy?
But they always, I'm
Okay.
a third child. I never made a cup of tea.
Okay,
there
we
you
both
go.
have 3 children.
There
Don't
you
start
go.
doing the third child
third
rule.
child.
You know, the middle, the love that exists between 3 children. You know,
I love that. Can we rephrase the question
Yes.
then? If
How
you were
would I?
to make myself or Cal a cup of tea in that kitchen right now, and we were all standing there not letting you out the kitchen,
watching you. So you
how
couldn't put
would
a
you
coffee
make
pod
that
in?
cup of tea? She will make the coffee.
Okay, I'll try.
How do you think you make a cup of tea?
Right.
That's
so
a better
we've
question,
got, what have we
isn't
got?
it?
We boil a kettle.
Yeah.
And then we put the tea bag. So the tea bag will go in.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because, and then you pour the water on.
yeah.
Oh God, there's a lot
Go
of
on.
pressure right now. So you pour the water on. Because this is the thing, I don't drink tea. So then I go and show the person, I'm like, does that look like it needs to?
Does that look like tea? Or
Does
have
that
I
look
made
like
coffee?
tea? Yeah.
You sniff
Or a loaf of
it.
bread.
Yeah.
And then I suppose if they say yes, then I take the tea bag out and I put other things in, like the sugar and the milk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I can get down with that. Yeah,
I'm
that's
going to
me.
give you that because
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a me.
Hypothetically.
I know she doesn't mean it though, so you can have that point.
Yeah.
I know, but I feel like my lifelong relationship with you can continue now.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so I mean,
I love that.
even if I asked for a cup of tea and I didn't ever get one, I would know that in your head you were making it the right way for
It's
me.
funny, so the Inner Work Club that I run, one of the taglines is grab a brew, let's focus on you.
Yeah.
And
Is it just because it rhymes?
Yeah.
It's not what you believe in your heart,
but
because
it's like
there's no brew.
It is
You are
because it's
seen.
in my head. It's coffee. Like,
Yeah.
come and
There's a
sit
brew,
down
there's
with
coffee,
me and
yeah.
let's talk about
Because a
you.
brew doesn't
Can
have
a
to
brew-
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you brew up. It's
But I've
brew.
never-
You brew
the
coffee,
tea.
I'm sure.
No,
You
you
do.
don't brew
You
coffee.
do, of
do you?
course, yeah.
Yeah, you do. I mean, not a coffee.
Oh, that's an answer for Google. That we've got to Google that. Do
Of
you
course.
brew
Oh,
coffee?
we've got
I'm
so many
sorry.
experts. We've got tea experts on this platform,
Yeah.
so I'm sure we will get an inbox of a coffee expert
you brew
explaining us,
coffee?
do we brew coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. I do apologise.
Don't
I don't like
apologise.
tea and it is rubbish.
Yeah,
So
that's okay.
we'll just make sure that in future we only ever offer you a coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love
Black coffee.
Yeah.
Black coffee.
But you can't make that a wrong way, can you? Because the coffee is supposed to be
You
there
can.
with the milk.
Oh,
Can
you-
you?
yeah.
You can make coffee the wrong way.
Give me a weak coffee and you'll see. I'll be very polite about it, but it won't get drunk. I love a strong black coffee. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're as fussy as me,
I
but
am.
with tea.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being
Thank you for
an
having me.
interesting guest.
Yeah. And for making your tea the correct way.
Good. I'm
Making
glad.
the tea the correct way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.